It's been a long time. So happy to see so many people that I have not been in touch otherwise. And this webinar gives the opportunity to connect with you all. So it's a nice, warm fall day. A lot of Agni, a lot of sun. Okay. So I see gradually people are joining in. Wonderful. We will wait for more and more people to join in. It's 5 o'clock. Meanwhile, if you have any questions for me regarding the topic today or otherwise, I'll be happy to take them before now. And then, of course, after the webinar, discussing on the interesting topic of today, the blood, the essence of life, the blood. Fabulous. Hello everyone who are joining in. Wait for a couple of minutes. It's just 5 o'clock right now in my clock. And we are expecting over 50 people. And that has been a standard attendees for these webinars, which really gives us a lot of happiness, not just for myself, but also the backend team that works very hard in promoting these webinars, trying to bring the message out to the community. They are really feeling excited and happy that people are taking benefits of these webinars, which we have been now doing since last year, 2020, April, since the pandemic, when our physical location was not operational. It's still not operational completely. We are just going in for selective activities. But this has been an amazing way to reach out to all of you and continue our contribution to the community. Of course, our paid programs are there, our paid workshops are there, but that's not been the entire focus of CAISH from last 20 years since we have been part of the beautiful Canadian community with the Center for Ayurveda and Indian Systems of Healing. We have always contributed in many ways, and one of the ways were our talks that we would host in the physical location. And of course, with now pandemic and the ability through the technology, we are very happy to reach far and wide. We have people joining in through these webinars from different countries. And indeed, I had requests also to do these webinars in the morning, so people from Europe and India and other parts of the world can join in. However, I feel for our North American attendees, this is the best time. But if any one of you have suggestions, we would be happy to hear from you and take it forward, whatever works for everyone. We are not too caught up in our ways of doing things because our agenda is to be able to be accessible to you all. So we will start a webinar. It's 5:03, and I will introduce myself for those who do not know me. Some of you know me, some of you don't know me. I'm Ismat Dhala-Nathani, the founder and director of Center for Ayurveda and Indian Systems of Healing. It is one of its center in Canada. And if I can take the liberty to say also in North America, because we offer an integration of entire Indian medicine, not just focusing on one area of Indian medicine. Indian medicine is vast, it's huge. Ayurveda is a big part of it, but then there is also yoga, there is Nadi Marma, there is Indian naturopathy, which is called as the Prakruti Chikitsa, there's Unani medicine, there is Siddha medicine. And it's really, really vast. So we try to integrate all forms of Indian medicine and also integrate it with the non-Indian medicine. That could mean osteopathy, chiropractor, Western naturopathic medicine, shiatsu, name it. So our whole focus is integration and not reducing or being very selective and narrow-minded in the way we look at health. We look at all these beautiful health modalities. So that's the Center for Ayurveda. My qualification is actually in traditional Indian medicine entirely, and with post graduation in integrative medicine from UK. I was lucky to start this center because it just felt that there was a need in 2002. That's been a long time. And since then, we have grown, of course, in the way we are now presenting the knowledge to everyone out there. We also have a big faculty, we have community and wonderful graduates, which I see some of them are there today. So let's move on to the topic of the day, blood. And the reason I chose this for this month or this time of the year is because a lot of individuals that I see even in my personal practice are coming back now in fall with a lot of signs and symptoms of depleted blood. And depleted blood does not mean that the blood is depleted in quantity. It could be depleted in quality as well. Quantity blood, of course, when you go for your routine blood work with your family doctors or with your naturopaths or whoever is doing the blood works for you, you can see the quantities. And at times the quantities show okay, but the individual is not feeling okay. And that's where we look into, from the clinical perspective, we look into the quality of the blood, because that really gives that sense of well-being. Of course, digestive system is a big piece of one feeling healthy, one feeling great, one feeling good, the well-being. But after digestive system, what? And that's where we come into the blood, and blood is very important. Also, we had done a webinar in late spring on liver, and now it is early fall or late summer, early fall. We are doing it on the blood because they are related. In springtime, what we call as the pitta starts to come in through the environment, through the weather, through the climate, and it helps in building your blood through the months of the summer. And when fall comes in, this pitta has done its job and it's leaving, it's on its way out. And that's what we see usually in the change of the color as well. So the colors of the leaves that you're seeing, like the red, the yellows, the oranges, that is the color of the pitta, which is surfacing up, so that it's an indication that it is leaving the environment for now, the climate for now, and another dosha, which is vata, is supposed to come in. If for some reason you have not paid attention in the months of the summer, or your lifestyle or your diet or the ways that you have been doing certain things were not focused on utilizing this pitta presence in the environment, in the weather, in the climate, and the influence on us, we have missed out on that blood building activity, because pitta is the major dosha, the bioenergy in the body that helps in building this blood. So we have missed out. But in reality, this is a good time. If you feel that you've missed out, you still have a chance to build that blood. And that's why I thought it is important, because those who are interested in understanding how to build your blood so that your immunity can stay strong, and later on, when you're getting into the fall and the winter, the harsh weather, your body can still have that robust mechanism, that robust immunity, and the ways that you do things, you don't get exhausted and tired. So that's where the blood becomes very, very important to look into at this time of the year. Some of you, we will look into what it means by depleted blood, quantity, quality, either wise. But some of you might say, I think I need to clean my blood. Fair enough. That is also one of the great ways and time right now. It's a perfect time to clean your blood. But then the symptoms are different. So we can kind of look into both what you would look into to take care of yourself. So let's start with, I'm just going to share, as usual, I prepare documents for y'all so y'all can have some visuals as well. And also, besides going into the rights and the wrongs of the blood or any other organs or whatever we are discussing, also it is important to understand the ancient perspective on these organs, on these essentials that are living in your body, that are part of who you are. So blood is called as Rakta, and it is the mother of the body that takes care of all the needs of a family. So your blood is like your mother. It is such an important and center of the body because it is nurturing, it is making sure that everything is distributed, everyone is well fed, everyone is well taken. So blood is actually considered as the mother of the body. And of course, I'm not getting into the maternal and the paternal energy. It's just the functioning of the mother, how a mother takes care of so many kids, whether she has 2 kids or 6 kids or 10 kids, it is the same role that the blood plays. And the blood from a Western uh, anatomical and physiological perspective is what we look into, that it is a fluid that is, its blood is fluid connective tissue. That means it connects one organ to another organ, it connects one tissue to another tissue. So it is such a major portion or component of your living, because that connectivity is very important. That connectivity is not there, there's no communication, there's no exchange, there's no distribution. So blood is actually, it's in a fluid form, but it is the connective tissue. And on average, a person has about 5 liters of blood in the body, and the speed that the blood travels in the body is approximately around 8 to 10 miles per hour. So that's the average speed that the blood travels. Of course, when there are certain conditions like high blood pressure, the blood can be gushing and things like that. So blood is the connective tissue. Blood provides the body cells with oxygen and removes carbon dioxide. So it provides not just oxygen, I would say it also provides a lot of other important gases in the body. It also transports nutrients and hormones. It regulates your blood temperature, and it also forms blood clots when there is a need for the blood to be retained in the body. Can you imagine how great that mechanism is? That the blood has its own intelligence as well. It has its own Agni, and it knows when to form the clutters and the clusters together so that the bleeding doesn't happen in cases of injury. And that's so beautiful. Sometimes even in menstrual cycle, women see a lot of clots coming out. That is because there is a need for that clotting to happen. Otherwise, the woman can bleed too much. So that clotting is also very important. Of course, in a disease, when it gets too much clotting or without any reason there's clot, it does cause thrombosis, which means blockage in the channels and things like that, which is a disease. But this clotting is very, very important. And then the blood also brings waste products to the kidneys and the liver. So the blood kind of collects all the garbage and then it brings to the site of the liver and the kidney. And that's why the blood is very, very important when we are also looking into the health of the liver, when we are looking into the health of the kidney. I know the Western perspective of physiology is not greatly, the focus is not too much on spleen, but spleen is also one of the major organs, which I really want you all to understand today from our webinar and from our conversation, because it's not spoken about much. It's very much spoken about in traditional Indian medicine, even in TCM, traditional Chinese medicine gives a lot of importance to spleen. But in Ayurvedic medicine, in Marma Chikitsa, too much focus is on the spleen. Sometimes the focus is more on the spleen than on the liver when we are looking into the formation of blood, when the blood is getting formed and how the blood kind of gets stored and saved. This is your saving account for the blood. Liver is the checking account. You eat your nutrients, you consume your nutrients, your blood gets made and it gets utilized. That's your checking account. The spleen is actually a saving account. This is when you are planning for your old age, when your body is unable to make that excess blood, when you are unable to eat enough food because of oral health or because of weak digestion. This is where the spleen really stores the blood and gives it back to the body, or when there is a rainy day or an emergency. So spleen is considered as one of the major pitta organs along with liver. We already spoke about liver in the past webinar, but if anyone's interested, you can review that webinar as well on the liver, because for blood, liver and spleen both are important in the formation of the blood. So liver is to do with the formation of the blood, spleen is in the storage of the blood, and kidneys in the filtration of the blood. So all these three organs are extremely important, but we'll focus too much on spleen today because of the rebuilding that we are talking about, how to build healthy blood, and this healthy blood will then get stored in the body. If the blood is weak in its composition and its quality, it gets utilized completely and then the spleen doesn't store it. But if your blood composition is good, and you don't require so much quantity of blood to be given to the body to do what it's supposed to do, you have more saving in the spleen. So spleen is very important. I'll come back to it. But let's look into what is Rakta. When we are talking about blood, what does Ayurveda, Yoga, and Marma wisdom tells us about blood? So Rakta actually means something that is colored, and we know through the hemoglobin, which gives coloration to the blood, because 50% of the blood is plasma, which is water, and that is coming from your the plasmic tissues and the plasmic cells. The plasma is fed by your or nourishes through the digestive process. So if your digestion is really good, it's really nice and strong, then the essence from those nutrients are going into the plasma. The plasma is rich, and then the coloration, the oxygenation, the hemoglobin, the carrying of the hemoglobin, all of that comes from the blood, which is Rakta. So Rakta means to be colored. And the references that are given in ancient texts is that if a person is healthy, if they have a healthy blood, they will be glowing and looking like a red lotus. So the red lotus or the red petal lotus is the symbolism of healthy blood. So that means when you are getting flushed, when you're happy, you're getting flushed, that flush is not giving you hives or rashes. That flush is giving you the glow. That's called as healthy blood. And that's where the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda, Yoga, and Marma talks about Rakta in reference to the red petal lotus. You can see how beautiful it is. Of course, this is a Photoshop, but when you look at the red petal lotus, it is pretty deep in color, and you can think of how that can create the radiance and the glow and the color on your face when you are healthy. So some of the, I'll go a little bit more deeper into this. So the healthy signs, how do you know that you have a healthy blood? So the healthy sign of the blood is, of course, one is your skin. So if your skin is healthy, that is a representation of healthy blood as well. your stamina, your strength. If you have a good stamina, a good strength, that's also representation of a healthy blood. Then your digestive system. So digestive system feeds the blood formation through the plasma, but also having good circulation and good quality of the blood feeds the health, the physical health of the GI tract, your digestive system. That means the walls of the digestive system are strong. That means that the mechanism of the digestive system is working well. Your stomach is churning well because it is getting the blood back into it for its functioning. So digestive system, the robust digestive system is also a sign of healthy blood. Beside that is your stamina, and then your skin coloration basically is the sign of healthy blood. One more sign of healthy blood is a state of happiness. A person who's happy in general, their laughter is all sign of healthy blood. And this is what the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda, Yoga, and Marma tells about, is the signs of healthy blood. So I hope most of you have that. If not all three, something out of it does indicate the healthy blood in you. And if you don't have, don't be sad. There's always a room, there's always a chance, and you can always work towards it. So getting into a little bit of the Marma Nadi wisdom of the blood, it is called as the Rakta Vaha Shrota. Even Ayurveda calls Rakta means blood, Vaha means the pathway, and Shrota means a channel. So blood carrying channel or blood carrying pathway. And specifically to Marma Nadi, and I wanted to give this piece of understanding to you all because it has a lot of significance when you are uh, kind of looking into your energetic field as well. So root of this channel, so root of the blood channel is spleen, is liver and spleen. Both are mentioned in Ayurveda, but in Marma specifically, spleen is mentioned more than the liver. So spleen is the root organ of this channel, of the blood carrying channel. The blood is considered as the life source. Life force is the prana, but life source, which gives you the sources, the resources to undergo all the changes in the body, the anabolic, the catabolic, the metabolic kind of phases in the body, it is the blood. So it is a very good source or resource of the body. And it also distributes sun energy to the marma. So the blood, beside carrying your physical nourishment, like your nutrients, like your vitamins and your proteins and your carbohydrates and all of that, it also evenly distributes the sun energy to the marma. So for example, if you're experiencing, even in the physical body, if you're experiencing any cold hands and feet, of course that is a sign of depleted blood, but that could also be a sign that the sun energy, so you are going for your evening walks or morning walks in the good sun. All throughout the summer, you have taken that sun into you, but that energy has not been distributed. And so the distribution of the sun energy is also very, very important. And then blood is also extremely important in elimination of the negative emotion. So it's not just elimination of physical toxins, the blood is also very important in the elimination of the negative emotions. So if you have a good circulation in the body, and again, you can look at it from the physical perspective, that also means that you are able to eliminate negative emotions. Also, when we're looking into the channels of the body, from Nadi Marma perspective, wherever there is an artery, so wherever there's an artery in your body, and that parallel to artery, so artery is a physical channel, parallel to it is a subtle channel, which is the channel that carries the prana. So the prana and the blood, they actually flow very parallel, side by side. They kind of energize each other, they kind of support each other. So wherever there is lack of rakta, blood in the body, maybe you're getting bruises, that could also be one of the signs that you can be having a weak composition of blood. That also means that you are having lack of prana in that area. And if it happens to be a marma point where you have a bruise, that means you're not just depleted in the physical energy, you're depleted throughout in a lot of these subtle energies. So just something to be mindful of if you at all find yourself. I also include the marma charts when I talk about the marma in these webinars. So you can look into those points also and see if at all you come up with a bruise, you don't know why you got that bruise, just check where the location is. Getting into the essential care for healthy blood. Now blood, as I said, it's the fundamental source, and the three primary needs of your body, which is air, water, and food, all three of them is carried by the blood, and all three of them are extremely essential in formation of healthy blood. So if you are asking me what food shall I eat, I would say first go and get fresh air. If you think that your blood composition, either quantity or quality, is weak, you want to go and get fresh air, because there's nothing like fresh air that will help in building this quality of blood, and also it will help in the quantity of blood. You'll be surprised if you have been to a family doctor and your bloods are not showing well and you've been asked to come back in 3 months. Beside your iron supplements and beside your other supplements, you go for fresh air and you see how much that will contribute to your health, well-being, and also in the formation of the blood. So first, number one comes fresh air. Second comes hydration. Hydration is through water, of course. So you want the essential water. But if you think you are drinking water and you're peeing immediately, that means your water is not getting absorbed, and that means it is not getting circulated through your blood. So your blood is not getting that liquid consistency that it needs for easy flowing and reaching into each and every millimeters, or even to every atomic space in the body. You want to hydrate, and for hydration there are certain spices you can use, like your fennel seeds, your cilantro, your coriander, which I'll get into it soon. But hydration is very important, so make sure that you're well hydrated. Any sign of dryness in your cavities where there is mucus, like your mouth, your nose, your anals, if you think that there is some dryness, that means your skin, there is a dehydration and you need to hydrate. Of course, oiling your body is important for circulation, but internally also you need that hydration, and that is very important. Then comes, of course, nutrition. So nutrition, you all know, are very important in building blood, which again we'll look into some food. And beside the air, hydration, and nutrition, what is also essential is cleansing through fasting. Now, fasting, I do not mean for you to go on intermediate fasting or go without food totally, if that's not what you can handle. But fasting could also means reducing the amount of food you're taking, or also reducing the combinations and different varieties of food you take. For example, we have got into this kind of a lifestyle where we are eating a continental breakfast, then we eat a Thai lunch, and then we eat an Italian dinner. So that is too complex. Too many complexities are coming in. So of course that needs to be simplified. So any fasting, any cleansing just allows the blood to kind of regain its strength, for it to also be able to breathe and use its intelligence. Because if it's compacted with too much, it's compacted with even over nutrients, like over supplementation, too much of nutrients coming in through smoothies and different drinks, which we tend to now go towards for a easy way and faster way of building ourselves. But that in long run also causes a lot of compactness in the blood, and it does not allow the blood to circulate well. It does not allow the blood to metabolize well, and you basically don't get the benefits of overfeeding yourself. So fasting is actually recommended. Ayurveda, yoga, all recommend fasting. That means simplifying your food habits for giving that space to blood so that it can reform itself. Circulation again is very important, which you all know, that it is very important because of the energizing of other organs. So as much as liver, spleen, kidneys, it handles the blood, even heart, it handles the blood, but it also needs the blood for its own operation, for its own functioning. And that's where circulation is very, very important. Circulation means internal and external circulation, not just the peripheral where your skin is warm and you think the circulation is good. Sometimes the outside is warm, but the inside is cold. And you'll ask me, how would I know if that's true? If that is true, that means again, you will have those signs that I first said, that you will feel lethargic, you will feel tired, you will not have that robust look, that radiance. You might have shortness of breath. So there are few symptoms that you can look into to understand if you have a good circulation as well. Um, Also, what is important for the blood, because of the major organs that are involved in the blood, like your liver, spleen, heart, kidneys, resting is very, very important in the care of blood. Work over exhaustion also causes in burnt out in the blood. The blood cells also gets burnt out. That means they die faster, and the newer blood cells do not form as soon as the cells are dying. So that balance, again, that balance of anabolism and catabolism is very important. So make sure if you have any of the signs that we're going to look into, you are balancing your rest and work. You're not overworking and you're not over resting. Over resting is also not good, because then that will deplete the circulation. So it's very, very important that you form a good balance of rest and work. If you work 2 hours in a hot sun in your garden, that means that you need a 30 minutes break as well. So the ratio is always 2/3 to 1/3, 2/3 work and 1/3 rest. And rest doesn't mean sleeping. Rest just means that you're kind of giving that low time, the me time, whatever you want to call it. And that could include the time for you to consume food, for you to use the washroom in a nice, relaxed way, and also pacing yourself. Then comes sweat inducing exercise. So to maintain healthy blood, we need to utilize all our 4 elimination channels. One of them, primary, with air, hydration, and nutrition. Goes with air goes your respiration, with hydration goes your urination, and with nutrition goes your bowel movements. So those 3 channels for elimination are very, very important. But beside that, there's a 4th channel, which is the sweat. And sweating is very important. It is very, very essential, because it is not directly related to our respiration or to our hydration or to our food mechanism. We tend to ignore it. But sweat, a little bit of sweat per day, even in winter, little bit of sweating is very essential, because that opens up the pores, that opens up the channels, and again it helps in the cleansing process. Like your fasting, it helps in the cleansing process. So any sweat inducing exercises are good. Not over sweating, because you don't want to get exhausted, but sweat inducing exercises are very, very important. Some of you might ask me, how about hot yoga? Well, you kind of take that choice for yourself, because we also want fresh air. So just sweat inducing exercise in the closed hot room is not what will build healthy blood. So you want to look into getting that fresh air as well. If you're using a hot yoga uh, scenario kind of thing to induce your sweating, make sure then you are also balancing. There is an equilibrium where you're also getting a lot of fresh air. So there could be a lot of ways you could do the sweat inducing, steaming, sauna, all of that. But these are not something that you want to just do it. You want to take the other cares also into consideration. So I'm going to go a little bit to the general signs that you might experience if you have a low or depleted blood quantity or quality. So one which is very, very common is feeling tired and lethargic, loss of appetite, pale skin, cold sweating. So you're sweating, but your sweat is not warm sweat. So as much as sweating is important, any cold sweating also gives you an indication that there could be a depletion either in quantity or quality of your blood formation. Uneasy feeling below your left rib. This is where the splenic area is. So feeling discomfort. There's nothing wrong when you palpate, when you go and get yourself checked, ultrasound, there's nothing wrong, but you just feel an uneasiness. When you try to take the deep breath, you feel like, oh, I can't expand much, or there's some kind of restriction. That is the spleen area. So that is also an indication of weak or depleted blood. Cold hand and feet, sleepy and drowsy feeling. Of course, sleepy and drowsy can be related to other clinical signs like your thyroid, hypothyroidism, and so on, diabetes as well. But generally, sleepy and drowsiness, even if it is related to thyroid or it's related to diabetes, that means that there is also that weakness in the quality in the blood. And at times, building that blood, you can see some of the clinical signs of other related conditions are also taken care. Low mental energy and having a very strong meat craving. Like you have been vegetarian and suddenly you want meat. From where this craving is coming, you have no idea. You're thinking of meat, you're smelling meat, even if it's not around you, but you smell it, you crave it. That is also a sign. I'll go a step back to low mental energy. And this is very common. I see this day in and day out in my own clinical practice, where people come and say they feel or they think that they are depressed and they want to consume a lot of the mind and mental herbs. But that low mental energy is actually coming from the quality or quantity of low or depleted blood. And as soon as you start to work on that blood, that energy comes back. So it is similar like the physical lethargicness, there's also that mental lethargicness. Person is trying to do things, or maybe they are too much on the computer, or they're doing too much of calculations, or too much of work, too much of problem solving, and the circulation in the head area is not there, because either it's a circulatory problem, or it is because the quality of the blood is not there to feed that area of the brain functioning. So that can also lead. So be careful, like you don't want to always think of low mental energy as depression, or low mental energy as like, oh, seasonal depression, or something that is happening with you at an emotional state. It could very well be mistaken to your physical health as well. um, so I'll go back to the foods. I can see a lot of questions coming in. So please give me 10 more minutes till I go through this and explain you, and then I'll come back to all the questions and answer. And I promise I answer all the questions before ending the session. Even sometimes we have gone over time. So when we're looking into food for rebuilding healthy blood, we are looking at specific food. Now, Ayurvedic medicine talks about different rasas and different tastes. Some of you might be familiar with it, and some of you might not be familiar. There are primarily 6 tastes that is mentioned in Ayurvedic medicine in sense of nutrition. So we are looking into sweet, sour, salty, and then we're looking into bitter, pungent, and astringent. And astringent is something that is hard, it is dry, those kind of food. Now, out of these 6 days, what is really, really recommended in building blood, all 6 days have got different influence on the blood. But when we're looking into rebuilding the blood, it is the astringent days, the last days, which is also a big influence on the colon. And that's why high fiber diet also at times work in building the blood, because high fiber is also astringent, and a lot of these minerals absorption also occurs in the colon. So if the colon, if your bowel movements are good, if you are having a healthy colon, it is not just an indication of healthy brain, because brain and gut connection is always been taken, and it's becoming a big fad right now. But colon is also responsible for a lot of mineral absorptions and assimilation, and out of that, iron is also one of that. That's why you have that golden color or brown color of your fecal matter, because of the presence of the iron, presence of the hemoglobin also. So make sure that you are consuming astringent food if you have a low iron counts, or if you have any of the red blood cells are low, or if your iron is low, so your ferritin is low, your hemoglobin is low. If you're aware of it, if it has come up in the blood work, look into astringent food, because astringent food actually helps in building the quantity of the blood. So good quantity of blood and blood composition and different aspects of the blood, because blood has got many different aspects, from proteins to plasma to water contents. It has a lot of different aspects in its composition, and it will serve all of those composition. So astringent is number one. And what are these food that are astringent? And I have mentioned here in the pink. So your lentils, big time, are astringent. And anything that is dark in color, black in color, reddish in color, these are the colors are also very good indicative. Today, especially, I've worn ruby earrings just for the significance of the topic, because ruby is a gemstones. I've never brought this up in any other presentation, but gemstones are also very, very important in taking care of your organs and taking care of your blood, lymphatics, different body tissues. And ruby as a gem, you can also wear ruby earrings, rings, pendants, but make sure it's touching the skin. So anything that is red in color, the color significance is very important. So anything that is deep red in color, brownish in color, and astringent is extraordinary for building the blood. So we are looking into sesame seeds, chestnuts, red chickpeas. I'm not sure how many of you have seen red chickpeas, but more than the white chickpeas, what is potent is in the red chickpeas. It's extremely astringent. Those who have got issues with weak gut or high vata or having flatulence and bloatedness, you want to take soup of it. So don't chew on it. You can actually make a soup, or you can boil it and you can drink the water of it, because that also has a lot of nutrients in it. So red chickpeas, extraordinary. Ham seeds, melon seeds, watermelon seeds are also very, very good in building blood. They're very astringent. If you eat too much of them, then you can feel that kind of a dryness, and you feel like as if you're getting some kind of cracks on the tongue or inside the cheeks. So it's small quantity. Black eye beans, and personally I'm a big fan of black eye beans, because it has got a lot of nutritional values and it's not much spoken about, because it's very high also in magnesium. So I had to mention that in the heart care webinar as well, the black eye beans, but it's also very good for building blood. Red beans and black lentils. So these are the primary astringent kind of food that you want to look into to build the blood. What is not recommended when you have a weak blood composition is the taste of sour and salty. So salty taste, as you know, will increase the volume of the blood, and that's where in the blood pressure, high blood pressure, salt is not much encouraged. And sour taste, any sour taste will create some kind of disturbances in the blood. So if you have low blood count, make sure you're not consuming too much of sour food, and that could also include your vinegars. I know a lot of vitamin C extracts, although vitamin C does support iron absorption, but try and look into other antioxidants or other sources of vitamin C that are not the source of citrus or sour. So these are just the principles in nutrition from an Ayurvedic standpoint. Also, when you're looking into other fruits, like I've mentioned, red grapes are extraordinary. So you don't want to eat them overripe, because overripe will create more of uh, sweetness. You want that little bit of astringent, and you don't want to consume them over raw because that will be sour. So red grapes consumption is important, but you just need to make sure that they are the right kinds, more local, they are not overripe, and they are not raw. Pomegranates, again, extraordinary, including the skin. Apples, extraordinary, and that's why your Granny Smith apples, the green apples, which are highly astringent, are actually much better for building blood than your red apples. Same with dates, raw dates versus the soft mature dates, because they are sweet. Unless you have a vata constitution where you're losing weight and you have difficulty gaining weight, and you need other forms of energy as well, then dates are good, right, and very soft. But generally, raw dates are recommended. Same black olives, and red and black cherries, figs. Again, if you can have more of the green figs rather than the mushy ones, the green figs, they're astringent and they can build a lot of blood. And wild berries. So any of these food, if you can look more into the astringent quality, you can cook them. Those who have got high vata or have weak digestion, you can cook them. Even red grapes, you can slightly boil them in the water and you can dry them. That's how the um, raisins are also made, but you can slightly do that as well. Pomegranates can be very easily cooked, apples can be very easily cooked, olives can be cooked. So you can actually cook them if you have a weak digestion, and it will not kill the nutrients because they're so rich in the nutrients, and your body will only absorb what it needs to absorb. So that is very, very important. Also, when we are looking into greens, so bitter taste will not build blood. Although I've mentioned microgreens, spinach, the fiber of it definitely will. So if you're doing juicing and you're thinking that it will build blood, I'm sorry to say it will not build blood because you need the fiber. And if you're throwing the fiber out, it's not going to help in building the blood. But what bitters do is it does the cleansing of the blood. Again, it creates that room, that space for the blood to, to be formed. And when it's forming, it will form healthy. So that's what the greens do. A lot of people think that greens build blood. Greens do not build blood. It's the fiber in the greens that will build the blood, but the enzymes in these greens will help in the cleansing of the blood. I hope this is important and you're catching what I'm trying to um, share with you all, because these are few important aspects in building blood. There are a few home remedies that I have mentioned here. And again, amla juice with ginger. So when we're looking into herbs, amla is the go-to herb that will really, really help, regardless whether it's a weak plasma, whether it's the blood itself. Both aspects, amla will really help in building good quantity and quality of blood. But you have to add ginger in it. So from an Ayurvedic standpoint, any absorption of iron is supported by mild pungent, whether it be your black pepper, whether it be your ginger. It's not supported by sour. And amla is not considered as a sour fruit. It is actually, it is slightly more towards sour, but it has got other taste in it as well, which makes it so potent. Other home remedies: pomegranate juice with black pepper, very important. Horse gram, which is the red chickpeas that I mentioned, is also called as horse gram. Soup with onions, extremely good. And then finally, you might have heard of Garcinia, which had become a big name a couple of years back with Dr. Oz's show for weight loss. But Garcinia actually is considered as one of very good herbs, which is dietary also, and it comes under the herb family as well, like amla, is considered to be very good for building of the blood, also purification of the blood, and also supporting your kidneys. And so that's very important in supporting your kidneys, is Garcinia. Pomegranate, horsegram, anything that is astringent, I'll come back to the spleen. It actually supports the spleen functioning, because spleen has a tendency to swell up when it is under functioning or it is under stress. It tends to swell up. The swelling or the enlargement of the spleen stays when there is some kind of a serious infection occurring in the blood, like the bacterial infection or a viral infection, in cases of malaria, in cases of hepatitis, in cases of other kind of infections. It tends to remain enlarged, but it does swell up when it is challenged. Also, what astringent does is astringent tends to kill anything that is infectious, that is carcinogenic, and that's where your spleen gets impacted very easily. Even with your negative emotions, your spleen gets impacted very easily. So anything that is astringent will help in removing. Also, fasting is considered as a drying effect on the body, and that's why it is recommended for any kind of blood building, blood cleansing. Other home remedies, there are few Marma points, and see here as well, I've arrows. So one of the most important Marma point is actually here. I didn't highlight it under your armpits. It's called as Lohit Taksha. If you can see here, I'll kind of do a spotlight there. See if I can. So this is where the Lohit Taksha is. This Marma point, it is right inside the groin, and it is also right inside this joint, in your arm joint. It's not the lymphatic. If you go further inside, it's a lymphatic. It's right on the outside. So any kind of even rotation, shoulder rotations, is very important in building healthy blood. So any of the arm exercises you can do, any rotations you can do, any kind of, hand butterflies, swinging, also swinging like monkeys do that a lot. They kind of get like half unlock their legs, bend, and they swing their arms, and that is also for opening up the circulatory channels. So this is one of the major marmas. The other one is up here, just under your colloidal bone. Also, it is very good for the immunity. I had mentioned this marma for immunity as well. This is right under your collarbone, and this actually helps with your cranial nerve, your vagus nerves, the connections between all the different sets of nerves. And you can actually go in here and you can press and release, press and release. Beside that, there are two other marmas at the back which are related to the spleen and the kidneys. So one is the actually this one, the this cut sorry Katika Taruna, And this one is right on your glutes. So any massaging of the glutes is also very good. Sometimes massage therapy is also, therapists also do that chopping there, or that cupping. It's very, very important because that also helps in building healthy blood. And then there is this one, which is the this one where there's an arrow. It is called the Parvasandhi. It is to do with the kidneys. So you can actually put your arm back, your thumb, and wherever you feel the thoracic, last thoracic cage ending, you can actually press there, and you can squeeze also, press, release, press, release. So these are few exercises. Even back bends are extremely good when getting these stimulated. So these are few Marma points that you all can use. And there's one mudra that I really want to share that is for the kidney, and it really helps in the filtration of the blood as well. And this is actually this one. This is called as the Kapha Shamak. Shamak means pacifying, and it's done with your baby finger, your ring finger, getting to the base of the thumb, and then the thumb over it, and your two fingers up like this. So this is really, really good for the kidney circulation. You can also, when you're doing meditation or you're in the Shivasana, which is just lying down, you can get in this mudra as well, just to help energize the kidney. Yoga asanas, sun salutation, nothing like it for building your blood. So these are few supports that you can give yourself when you are looking into building blood. Now, there are few signs and symptoms that if you think you need detoxification or clearing, those are the symptoms of inflammation. Those are the symptoms of allergies, seasonal allergies, where you get redness of your eyes or anything redness that shows up on the skin, eyes, oral cavity, rectal burning, and with burning, then you definitely need a cleansing. Also, low grade inflammation, which is like fibromyalgia, when you constantly feel your muscles are tired 24/7 and 365 days, and you don't have a muscle strength, and they're tired, and you also feel very achy, then those are the signs that you need a cleanse, a detoxification. But a detoxification must be done with help of facilitated by a practitioner, because blood cleansing is little sensitive and delicate. So you must really seek help. And on that note, we have a workshop coming up on Saturday on blood detoxification. If any one of you are interested, I'm sure the link can be shared here on the chat or question and answer. So this is from me. I will start to take questions. So I have a couple of questions here. I have someone asking me about hydration. What are my thoughts on hydrogen water, alkalizing water machines, spring water versus distilled water? Very good question. I will not give you my personal view, but I will just tell you what would be the best from an Ayurvedic perspective. So, an alkaline water is fabulous, and that's what we must work towards. What Ayurvedic medicine recommends is alkalining the water through natural means. So, like use of alum, use of certain salts, use of certain herbs and spices. So, that is what is recommended. Now, whether machines, I cannot speak for the machines, but alkalining of the water definitely needs to be done, because our water is very acidic, and that is also causing a lot of toxicity in the body. So that's where the cleansing is needed. And it also inhibits the formation of healthy blood. So that's what it is. Distilled water, all these machine waters, distilled waters, I can't speak much on it because different brands are different. But generally, alkalining of the water is very important. Praying on the water is also recommended because you want to increase the energy of the water. So not just the chemical composition, but also the energizing of the water is very, very important. So what did the Ayurvedic sages say for the water? Well, there is a lot mentioned about water. And what is said that where you live, so lake water versus river water versus well water, there are different therapeutics in different sources of water because we live in, I would say, if you're in North America, and specifically if you're in Canada and in the East Coast, we have more lakes than sea. So definitely lake waters are very, very important. If there are spring waters around, then spring waters are also very healthy. I will move on from that. There's a question like, what if a person doesn't sweat or sweat easily through exercise? Then that's where you need sweat inducing. So I mentioned about um, hot yoga. I mentioned about the steamers. I mentioned about even steaming. You can do steaming at home as well through your bathrooms, where you can actually switch on your hot water. You don't have to go in the hot water. The bathroom can get all steamed up and you stay in it. So that needs inducing. So that is something that needs to be induced. And there are different ways that you can induce against certain exercises with certain combination of herbs. So for inducing sweat, you want a little bit more pungent, because astringent will not increase the sweating, but pungent will. So certain herbs, certain uh, other activities needs to be induced. So there's another question. What would you say? Portable infrared sauna machine are probably totally safe and appropriate for circulation. Again, I cannot mention on the machines. I can generally tell you right now on this webinar that infrared is good, but it has to be of a good quality. There are good ones out there. There are bad ones out there as well. There are also wet steamers. Ayurvedic medicine actually supports a lot of moist steaming rather than dry steaming. So moist steaming is always better. You get very simple moist steamers out there. You could use that as well. Or as I said, simple ways of just through your bathroom activities, you can do it. Again, exercising is one of the ways. Maybe you might not sweat first time, second time, third time, but you continue those exercises. Like sun salutation will also help in increasing the sweating. Sweating is very important. If you're not sweating, that is also a sign of ill health. So sun salutation, have something warm like ginger tea before you do the sun salutation, something pungent, and you will see that process will start. You'll have to be patient, because if you are going to natural ways, it takes time. If you're inducing it through the means of other mechanisms like saunas and steamers and hot yoga or whatever that means, going to the gym, then that's a different scenario. But naturally, it takes time. So be patient with yourself. Um, so I have a question asking, is low hemoglobin connected to prana? How can we build hemoglobin? Yes, if you're looking from energetics, definitely low hemoglobin is related to low prana. If you are looking into building hemoglobin, again, pranayama is very, very important. So even anulom, vinulom, very important, but you will have to do it slowly. I've seen a lot of people do it very fast. You will have to do slowly, because hemoglobin is a protein and it needs to be connected and it needs to be combined. Sometimes it does not combine with the cell and you lose that. So it definitely needs to be combined. Also, as I said, a lot of astringent food through nutrition also, you can build hemoglobin, you can build iron as well, you can build hemoglobin. Hemoglobin, usually you find it in fresh food. So some greens do have hemoglobin, like your alfalfa. They do not have hemoglobin, but they help in the making of the protein. Hemoglobin is a protein. And again, your lifestyle, your dinacharya is all very important. Sesame seeds are also very good. Even if you focus on the whole thing, like in Ayurveda, we don't differentiate between hemoglobin, ferritin, your red blood cells. So if you focus on the completeness, then you will see that hemoglobin also goes up. There's a question: if a person is older age with high vata state is needing blood health support, how much astringent intake would be too much in the risk of increasing or moving vata? Again, very interesting question. Whoever that is, I cannot see your name. But if you're looking for senior care, then I would say go more for herbs like amla or something like amla base, where there's no risk of aggravating the vata. The other way you can look into it, as I said, give more of the soups rather than, like, if you're looking into the horse gram or the red chickpeas, give more of the watery to drink, the soupiness to drink. Other ways also, you can blend other taste, like something sweet in it, like jaggery. Jaggery is also actually very good. I did not mention that. Jaggery is also very good. You can add jaggery. Even dates are good, so you can add little dates along with the astringent. So it's kind of a balancing act, and also giving in small quantity because the digestion is anyways weak, so you don't want to give it in high quantity. So small quantity, like if you're making a gram soup or a black eye bean soup, then just giving it in a small cup rather than giving a big bowl. So each time you can give smaller quantities. There's one more question about: when there is pitta aggravation in the body, what are the some of the pointers to keep in mind? There are a lot of scenarios where there could be a pitta aggravation and yet low rakta. And this is, if I go into the clinical mindset, then this is where we kind of call a situation of Agni, Vishramana Agni, and that's what needs to be looked into. So you want to pacify Pitta, so choose the nutrients, choose the food that will help in the Pitta pacification and building of the blood. So for example, sesame seed will aggravate pitta. You don't want to choose sesame seed in that case. But melon seeds are pitta pacifying and they're blood building. So you want to choose those. So there the choice will be different on the kind of nutrients you're choosing. Again, pitta aggravation sometimes could be high because a person is not sweating and the pitta is not getting that ventilation to vent out. So any suppression in the elimination of the pitta can also cause pitta aggravation. So you want to focus on elimination, opening up the elimination channels, either through respiration, either through perspiration or urination as well. Pitta aggravation sometimes could also mean that the quantity of output of the water is not high. So water intake is also very important. So those are the factors that you want to look into: the hydration or the elimination. So the spices for the water typically would be cilantro, dhania seeds, could be your fennel seeds. Okay, so there's a question, sesame with the husk. Yes, if you want to kind of if there isn't any vata imbalance, husk is fiber, and that is like double bonus. So sesame and the husk both will really help in building the blood. But again, you cannot take it in high quantity because when you're chewing on the sesame with the husk, it is so astringent that you can start to feel blisters in your mouth. So when you're using something so potent, the quantities have to be small. Don't think more is better. The more potent you use, the lesser the quantity it has to be. Or then you soak it in water so there's a little hydration. Again, I'm seeing a lot of questions where hydration will become very, very important. You want to focus on the hydration along with the food. So whatever choices of nutrition you're making, again, hydration is very important, and also support the elimination. Oh, where can you buy? I have a question. Where can you buy amla, and how much should be consumed to help rebuild? 1 teaspoon. If you're using fresh, you can get fresh amla. If you're in GTA, you can get amla in stores. They are in season, so you might not find it all the time. But this time of the year, you'll find it. In winter, you might not find it. You can actually make um, you can make amla pickles, you can make amla jam, you can make so many products out of the amla. If not, then there's an Ayurvedic formulation called chavan prash, which is a herbal jam. Base is amla, ghee, and lotus petals. That can also be taken as a remedy, and so you can look into that. There are a lot of amla juices that have come out. Again, from my personal experience, I don't support them too much because there are a lot of preservatives in them. And I'm not a big fan of any preservatives, food colorings. Does not matter how good it says on the labels, but that's just my personal view. So there is a question. I have heard amla does something good for blood vessels integrity. Any other herbs or recommendations that would serve in stabilizing the vessel? Definitely, definitely. So again, in small quantities, it will not do anything to the blood vessels. It works as a dilation as well, and that's why it's very good for high blood pressure amla. In small quantity, it will not do it unless you suddenly decide to eat too much of amla. So please be mindful that any recommendation here is in small quantity because you're doing self-care. If you have any specific health issues, then please seek advice of a health practitioner. These webinars are in no way to replace any kind of health practitioner's recommendations. This is just for your general understanding. But very good question whoever asked about the amla. So there is another herb, triphala in general, and that's why a safe use is to take it within the triphala formulation, because in triphala formulation you have got the amla. That's one herb. The second one is called as beda, and the third one is called as herde. And now herde is also extraordinary. It's astringent. It is extraordinary in building blood. It is also extraordinary in actually cleaning any parasites also, either from the colon or from the blood. So you can actually use the whole triphala, or you could use the combination of amla and herde. But I would, for safe use, I would definitely encourage triphala. Oh, what are the known juices that are good for cleansing of the liver? Uh, Again, from an Ayurvedic standpoint, juicing, so when you're looking into juices, they're actually rasayana, they're rejuvenative. They're called as the swarasa. Swa means the essence of a juice. So, juicing from an Ayurvedic standpoint is not recommended for cleansing. They are more recommended for rebuilding. That's why I mentioned amla juice, because juices means rasayana, to rebuild something. So if you want to do any kind of cleanse for liver, you again need something that has got fiber. Wheatgrass, yes, from a natural standpoint, natural medicine standpoint, definitely wheatgrass. From an Ayurvedic standpoint, there are other herbs that are also recommended for liver cleansing, and one of them, and very safe, is Bringraj. There's a question, is neem a good choice? Neem is a very good choice. Again, when we are looking into either building blood and cleansing, it does both. But those who have got vata imbalances, that's where I would be careful with neem. You don't want to use plain neem. You again want to use it in combination with triphala. It seems like those who are asking questions about the herbs know the Ayurvedic herbs. or might have used it. So please use it with consciousness and with precautions. So I've got a question here. Food-based iron versus heme iron are both important. Which one more? Are heme supplements necessary for vegans, vegetarians, for healthy blood? You know what? I would not completely say that the supplements are very important for vegans or vegetarians for both iron versus heme irons. But what is important, because there are other sources which I've mentioned to you all, is the air and water is also important. If you're just basing it nutritionally on the vegetarian and vegan food, then yes, supplementation would be important. If someone is not taking proper intake of air and they're not hydrating themselves, then that is something that they'll get dependent on. But generally, vegetarian and veganism must not give someone a depletion, either protein depletion or any depletion of iron, hemoglobin, any of those ranges. Something that really needs to be looked into. It's a big topic on vegetarian and veganism, and why some of them are really feeling so challenged and gets depleted so fast. There's one uh, recommendation from Ayurvedic medicine is those who have moved on to become vegan or vegetarians and were meat eaters before. A cleansing is very, very important regardless, to reset the body's expectations. Because if you have been consuming, or your source of iron, or your source of heme irons, or your source of other food or nourishment for your red blood cells were dependent on the meat products, that's what your body radar is searching for. So it will search for what it is used to, unless you reset your body, that now there's a different source of food that will be coming, and the body intelligence will pick it up. So that's why cleansing or panchkarma, like the deep cleansing, is recommended. So we see a lot of that void as well, that because it was not uh, kind of planned in a way, that move of diet, that shift of diet, there's so much of this depletion of nutrients that we are seeing in vegans and vegetarians. So for those who are thalassemia, do you recommend any key wisdom to support fall season? If it's minor thalassemia, now thalassemia comes under the blood disorders. And again, from Ayurvedic standpoint, it could mean different depending on your constitution and depending on your state of general imbalances. So based on that, these recommendations are given. I cannot throw anything on our webinar platform, because that needs to be well looked into. And I don't want anyone to start to follow them and have a situation. But generally, the foods that I have mentioned and the principles of building iron is something that is a preventative health. So whether you have a blood disorder or you are just kind of depleted in the blood, follow the same principles. So I have a question: how to alkaline water with aloe? Now, aloe is also a very, very good herb ingredient that can be used. It's also very good for the blood. You can use aloe in small quantity, and it is astringent, especially the leaf part, the green part of it. Aloe, there is a gel and then there's a leaf. So the leaf part is very astringent, and that's why it is also used as a laxative. So that portion is not, will not help in alkalining completely. That is more for taking care of the colon, building of the blood and things like that. For alkalining of the water, you need the gel, the soft gel inside. And if I have to give you ratio, that would be, say, if, for example, you're using half liter of water, you will just need about 1 teaspoon. Any of the alkalinizers, you don't need too much in quantity. Alum is also very good for that. but you don't need too much in quantity. Coming fall and winter, you don't want to use aloe in cold water. You want to use a little bit in warm water. I guess I've taken care of all the questions. Any other questions? Everyone is good there. Wonderful. So I'll once again mention there is a link for the fall cleanse, which is addressed towards the blood. We have also upcoming 2 programs on October 19th. One is the Ayurveda Self and Community Care, and the other one is the Ayurveda Health Educator, which you can actually get a designation to practice as an educator. And the level of knowledge that I've given you today and shared with you is what you would be getting in as a health educator. You'd be the one giving rather than me giving. So I really look forward for those who are keen in studying and taking this knowledge forward. We are here, but outside of that, we support community. We want to see healthy communities because we believe that that's the only way our world can be in a happy place. If we are not in a healthy place, if our bodies are not thriving, our minds are getting challenged, vice versa. So we really want to support healthy living, healthy communities, and our webinars are here. We also have our Facebook group that we just started about a month back. Y'all can become members of that. It's free to join. You can also post some questions later on the group from the webinar today. You can also post other questions. That's more of an engaging group. So we don't feel this gap from month to month between the 2 webinars. You all can very well be part of it. We try to also post different tips, different videos and things like that. So please join that group. The link has been posted by a CAISH administrative team member. Thank you, everyone. And I wish you all a wonderful evening. Take care. Keep on working on your blood composition. It's never going to make you disappointed. It's always it's an asset. That's the asset you want to invest. And this is a great asset. So namaste. Thank you. Take good care. Bye for now.